This lesson on the sociology of education is in more depth lesson on cultural capital, an idea come up with by a very influential social thinker called Pierre Bourdieu. Keywords are attainment, what you get, language, literature, theatre, music, superior, hegemony, leadership of the culture, hegemony, expertise and confidence. So, previous lesson, read the questions, you know the answers, look at the previous video about the various factors that might affect class and educational attainment. Right, so let's remind ourselves. Bourdieu is a Marxist. What do Marxists think? Well, Marxists see the whole world as a class conflict. There's the bourgeoisie, the middle class, and the proletariat, the working class. And they are, perpetual war, a conflict. The bourgeoisie have won, and they organize the world to suit themselves, to help them and their kids. So if you're a Marxist, you see everything in terms of class conflict. Right. So in our culture, when we say you've done well at school, what is educational success? Well, we mean you've taken these sorts of subjects, maths, geography, history, English, and you've got good grades in them. That's what we mean by educational success. Not are you a good person, not do you have useful skills, have you learned this stuff? Are you good enough at this stuff to get these grades in a written exam at a little desk in the summer? And well, who decides this? Well, the exam boards set the exams and the curriculum, and they're overseen by the Department for Education. And it's all very technocratic. They're thinking about things, they're coming up with new ideas, they're making sure everything's done properly, because that's the way things are. Marxists don't think that's the way things are. Their perspective is this. These exams, these subjects, these organizations here are all run by the middle class. And they're run by the middle class, and they're testing kids on things that they think are important, that their kids are already good at. In that way, they are maintaining their hegemony. They're picking a set of skills, and they're saying, well, these are superior to other skills. This knowledge is superior to other knowledge, better than. So I don't care if you can change a plug. I don't care if you can look after a sick relative. Are you any good at coastal erosion? Can you analyse this poem that I think is important? To a Marxist, all this sort of stuff is an example of hegemony. They decide what happens in schools. These two groups here decide what happens in schools. They run schools, they run the government, and they decide what's important. They decide what you learn. That's hegemony. Now, Bourdieu then goes on to say, once you've decided on that, the middle class can make sure that their kids have all the advantages. What he calls cultural capital, capital wealth. They are socialized in different ways. A middle class home will have lots of books in them, and reading is encouraged. Middle class kids will be taken to art galleries, and they'll know that's a Van Gogh and that's a David Hockney painting before they start school. They will get things like piano lessons. They will go to museums. And so when they start school, they have massive advantages. The example I'm going to use is from the current English GCSE. You're doing the poem Ozymandias. Ozymandias was written by Shelley when he first saw this statue of Ramesses II in the British Museum. If you're a middle-class child, you will already know that before you start the course. You'll have seen this statue. That's cultural capital. You have a larger vocabulary because of all this, a larger academic vocabulary because of all this, because of the way you've been socialized by your parents. And that, Bourdieu said, is cultural capital. On a similar vein, Diane Ray did some research and she found what's really crucial about this cultural capital. Who's doing it? Mums. Middle class mums, she said, have a lot of involvement in their child's early years, a lot of hands-on. They quit work and they spend time with their kids, reading to them, doing music lessons with them. And that really gives their kids a boost up and gives them a massive amount of cultural capital. And Becky Francis took a slightly different tack. It's not just cultural capital, it's the social capital, she said. The middle class parents know how to get their way around the maze of the education system. They know what are the best schools. They move their kids, they'll move their families to a catchment area of the good school. They know how to talk to people. They maybe have friends who work in those schools who can get them into those schools. This is called social capital. Knowing the system, knowing how to work the system, knowing how to talk to, knowing how to complain. That's what Becky Francis said.